2 movies have already joined the $1 billion club this year, so it's time for my updated ranking. What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to another video. So this is going to be my updated tier list ranking of all 55 $1 billion club movies from my least favorite to my favorite. With the release of Inside Out 2 and Deadpool and Wolverine, both of those films have now joined the club. And if I had to bet, they might be the only movies this year to do so. Before I dive into this mega ranking, be sure to hit that like button and comment down below your ranking of the $1 billion club films. What's your favorite and least favorite? Subscribe into that notification bell to be notified for all my future videos. And if you want access to exclusive content such as reaction videos, commentary tracks, live streams, and more, you can find that over on my Patreon. Your support over there truly does mean the world. And I actually just launched my YouTube membership where you get access to everything on my Patreon in addition to YouTube exclusive perks such as emojis, member badges, and more. That is available to join now, so consider joining either my Patreon or my YouTube channel membership page. Either way, your support over on both those goes a very, very long way. Without further ado, let's rank the $1 billion club movies. So the tiers I have are S tier, A tier, B tier, C tier, D tier, F tier, and haven't seen because there are like 3 or 4 of these movies that I've just never watched, so they get designated to that tier. First up on this list, I've got Transformers: Age of Extinction, aka Transformers 4. I saw this movie in theaters on a hot July day with my buddy. It was a miserable experience because the movie stinks. It's the worst Transformers movie I've seen. I've never stomached the 5th. I just don't know if I could sit through that ever, but this is an F tier movie. I'm putting it there right now. Just a genuine stinker. Next, we've got Avengers: Age of Ultron, a much better movie. I'm going to put this in, let me think. In the context of this, ooh, this is tough. I'm going to go C tier with Age of Ultron. It's a very enjoyable film. We're talking like anywhere from a 3 to a 3.5 out of 5. It's the only Avengers movie where we get to see this team as an actual family. It gives us the scene where everyone's trying to lift Mjolnir. It also introduces Scarlet Witch into the MCU fully. I know she's brought in the post-credits scene of Winter Soldier, but she's brought in as a main character here. You got Vision. It's just, I have to think big picture. It's probably like top of C tier, damn near B tier. Next, we got Top Gun: Maverick. This could go down as one of the best movies ever made. I mean, it's already highly acclaimed, right? I love it. I don't know anyone who dislikes this movie. But each year, it just gets better and better and better. I walked out of the theater and gave it a 5 out of 5, but it just gets better, guys. It's the ultimate summer blockbuster. Tom Cruise knows how to make these movies, and it's an enthralling time. I'm putting it in S tier. To me, it is like maybe the definitive movie of the 2020s so far. It's incredible. Next, we got Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, otherwise known as the Philosopher's Stone to some of you guys watching this video. I'm going to say B tier for this one. This is a very, very solid installment in the first, actually, in the Harry Potter series. I've seen this one, I think, the most out of the bunch. It's got the most charm and nostalgia, and I think that's because Chris Columbus directed the film. He also did Home Alone, and so it has that family fun feel to it. It establishes this world so well, does a good job of letting us know the rules of the wizarding world, and we get to see the practical effects on full display, especially the Diagon Alley sets. Impressive stuff. So yeah, B tier movie, I'm comfortable with that. Moving on, we got Toy Story 4. I'm going D tier with Toy Story 4. I have really grown to dislike this movie. When I first saw it, I think I was blinded by the fact that it was a Toy Story movie, so I was like, oh, I have to be nice to this. No, the more I've thought about it, the more I've revisited it, it's a very flawed film. And with Toy Story 5 coming out, the ending of this film, which was its best, moment when Woody and Buzz say goodbye to each other, that seems to be meaningless now because Woody's just back in the picture somehow. I don't get it. D tier movie for me. Moving on, we've got Deadpool and Wolverine, my favorite movie of the year so far. It's a blast. I'm going for round 3 tonight, the day I'm recording this. And I'm pumped, very pumped to see this movie on the big screen again. Yes, it's got, action galore, and it's filled with hilarious moments, plus cameos out the wazoo. But the cameos fit within the context of the story. This movie's packed with heart. It is also, to me, a celebration of the Fox Marvel era, specifically the X-Men, obviously, some others included, but more so those X-Men movies than anything else, and I think this movie rules. And I gave it 5 out of 5 on Letterboxd, but I defined it as a No Way Home 5 out of 5 versus a Oppenheimer 5 out of 5. Either way, I don't know. I mean, I gotta go, it. I'm going S tier, right behind Top Gun Maverick. Deadpool and Wolverine rules. It's my favorite movie of the year, and the third viewing tonight, I cannot wait for. This is just a joyful movie, a celebration of Marvel in my mind, and a damn fun, quotable, rewatchable movie. I gotta go S tier with it. It's excellent stuff, in my opinion. And the opening, it has all the sauce in the world. I know there's been some Sean Levy slander on Twitter. Get out of here with that. Next, we have Pirates of the Caribbean 4 on Stranger Tides. Stinker. Some days it's the worst Pirates movie to me, but then I'm like, no, Dead Men Tell No Tales is unwatchable. This is at least watchable, so I'll put it in D tier behind Toy Story 4. Blackbeard, played by Ian McShane, is a great villain, but the movie itself is lacking because it doesn't have the rest of the supporting crew from the first 3 Pirates movies that make the movies stand out. Like Will Turner and Elizabeth Swann, or Elizabeth Turner, if you will, are the reason that the Pirates films, the first 3, work so well. It's just a bummer. You know, this was super high on my anticipated list in 2011. I saw this in theaters as an 11-year-old and was like, let's go, I'm ready. It disappointed me then. It disappoints me now. It just doesn't feel like Pirates. It's a bit too dark, and it doesn't have like that sense of adventure that the first 3 have. So, D tier. Next, we have Incredibles 2. I'm gonna go B tier with this film. This is an underrated Pixar sequel. A lot of people like to dismiss this one, and I think it's because it's not as good as the first Incredibles. But how many Pixar movies really are? 5, maybe 6? It is an all-timer, the first Incredibles. So this sequel is a worthy follow-up. It's not as good, but no Incredibles sequel ever would reach the heights of that first one. Speaking of that, we're getting Incredibles 3, can't wait. But Incredibles 2, solid movie. Next we have Frozen 2, not a fan. Really don't get the hype for this one, except for the soundtrack. Into the Unknown slaps. What's funny is that the Panic at the Disco version, I think, is superior. What? Blasphemous to some, maybe, but no, I listen to that version more than the actual version by Idina Menzel. It's not F tier outright, but I will say D tier. I would watch Frozen 2. I'll put it at the back, actually. I remember just being in a dreadful mood in the theater. I think I actually went on my birthday to see this movie, foolishly. I was like, oh, I'll go to a morning screening of Frozen 2, and I was falling asleep. It's nowhere near as good as the first, and I don't know if there's any more story to tell here, guys. Frozen 3 and 4, they're both gonna make $1 billion. But do we really need them? No, I don't think we do. Next, we got Spider-Man Far From Home, the weakest of the Tom Holland Spider-Man trilogy in my mind. That does not make it a bad movie. I'm gonna say, all things considered, it's C tier, probably right behind Age of Ultron. I would watch this movie and enjoy my time right now. Mysterio, Jake Gyllenhaal, great villain in this series, right? But it does feel probably the least Spider-Man-y out of any Spider-Man film. It's not even set in New York. Some people say that's its strength. It's in a new location. To me, it was just a little less interesting because we didn't get to see Tom Holland in New York City. Still waiting for a truly classic Spider-Man flick from Tom Holland. No Way Home is my favorite Spider-Man movie. It's still the definitive Spider-Man movie to me, but waiting for him to be your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, you know, comparable to, say, the first TASM or Spider-Man 1 or 2, waiting for that type of movie with Tom where he's swinging through New York City, listening to, you know, the police scanner, waiting for the call to be Spider-Man. I think we're going to get that in the 4th movie, hopefully. Next, we have Inside Out 2. Round of applause for Inside Out 2. It's in the top 10 highest grossing films of all time. It is the 2nd newest addition to this club, and I quite enjoyed this movie. I would say Inside Out 2 is going to go in B tier right behind Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I think I had Inside Out 2 right around Incredibles 2 in my last Pixar ranking, so that feels appropriate. It feels classic Pixar. They needed a win, they got it, and I'm happy for them. You know, I still prefer the first Inside Out, but as I look at this tier, I'm like, yeah, Inside Out 2, B tier, high B tier, mind you. And it's really shocking to me that it is a top 10 all-time grossing film. I thought it would make $1 billion. It had like an outside shot to make $1 billion. The first one was in the 800 million range. So this one overperformed everyone's expectations. And hell yeah, it's good to see a Pixar movie win like that, especially because we haven't had a real hit from them in a while. Next, we have the Super Mario Bros. Movie, which I just don't care about. And you know, it's crazy because I grew up playing, you know, Mario Kart. I had Double Dash on the GameCube. That was my jam. This movie, it's like just soulless to me. It's, hey, let's just have a bunch of big actors voice these characters and throw all the Mario Nintendo references at the wall and it'll make $1 billion. And it did. It just doesn't really land with me. I wouldn't say it's outright F tier, but it is D tier. I'm going to put it actually at the back of D tier. I think I'd watch Frozen 2 over it because of the soundtrack. Super Mario Bros. Movie, yeah, not my jam. Next, we have Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. the movie responsible for tearing the Star Wars fandom in half. It was like the final nail in the coffin, in my opinion. F tier, but I'd watch it over, what's that movie? The Age of Extinction. I would watch it over that in a heartbeat. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of defenders of this film, and you guys are entitled to that opinion. I honestly am happy that you guys like this movie. I think it's character assassination. It completely wastes the majority of its runtime focusing on meaningless plot points that go absolutely nowhere. This trilogy was absolutely directionless, and this film made that evident. It was laughable at times how stupid and outlandish things got. Meaningful character moments were just ruined for some stupid reason by other characters. It's filled with issues, and it's just a goofy movie. Like, the only thing I'll give it visually, out of this world. It looks great. Of course it does, though. It's a Star Wars movie in 2017 with the biggest budget out there, you know? It should look that good. Anything else, pretty empty. This is a shell of what Star Wars should be. But anyway, I have Minions next. I haven't seen that, so I can go ahead and put it there. And then we got Barbie, one of the newer additions to the club. I'm going to put Barbie in C tier, probably right here. I think Barbie's a better movie than Far From Home, but I'd probably watch Age of Ultron over Barbie. It was a phenomenon when it came out. Barbenheimer, what a time that was. But I just don't see myself ever going back to this one. It's funny, relevant. It's just like, I don't know. I watched it twice, and I'm probably good for the rest of my life. It's not a bad movie by any means, though. Next, we have The Dark Knight, which is obviously an S-tier movie. And honestly, I'm going to put it right behind... This is so tough. Right behind Top Gun Maverick. I know that just comes down to personal preference at that point, but The Dark Knight, many would say it's the best superhero film ever made, and I'm not going to argue with you. It's out of this world. Heath Ledger gives an Oscar-winning performance. I mean, Nolan crushed it here. It is a perfect movie. It's the definition of a perfect movie. At that point, it just becomes subjective, and hey, I like Maverick more, so that's why I have it over over The Dark Knight. Next, we got Beauty and the Beast live-action remake. One of, if not the best, Disney live-action remakes. I'm putting this in B tier. I'll go with the back of B tier, but Evermore, the song The Beast sings, might be my favorite song from this film. It's a new addition, and it spawned the Josh Groban version, which is chilling good. It's better than the version from this film sung by Dan Stevens. Beauty and the Beast, though, to me, probably like the gold standard for live action remakes, right? It has to be. Next, we have Black Panther, which I'm going to put in, I have a few MC movies in C tier. We'll go C tier with Black Panther. I will put it right here, though. I've recently bumped Black Panther up on my MCU ranking. I was a bit too harsh on it. I really don't like the plot cliche or plot trope, if you will, plot device where a main character is killed and they're like the titular character of the movie and they're killed like near the end of the second act. And we know they're going to live, right? But all the other characters are like, whoa, they're gone. How do we move on? It's just the dumbest shit. And a lot of movies do it. Some worse than others. Like, it's offensive in this movie. Like, are we really just going to sit here and waste the runtime while he's off screen? We know he's coming back. And then it's supposed to be this big moment. Oh, he returns. It's like, yeah, no shit, he's back. The movie still really explores Wakanda well. It's got maybe the best score in the MCU from Ludwig Göransson. And Killmonger, very understood villain. I just think it's a bit overhyped, but it is better than a good chunk of MCU movies, specifically the ones that have come out recently. Next, we got Finding Dory, another one of those overhated Pixar films. A lot of the sequels get too much hate because they're not as good as the original, when in reality, those original Pixar films came out in their golden era, their run, right? Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, Monsters, Inc., all those movies have sequels or prequels that people kind of crap on unfairly, in my opinion. I'm going to put Finding Dory in C tier. I'm going to go right here with it, probably at the back. But it's still a very sweet movie. Young Dory is adorable. The film pulls on the heartstrings. It has those Pixar moments that get you. They're gut punches, right? It's not perfect. It's not as good as Finding Nemo. Again, what could be? And I think we deserve a third Finding film. That could be Finding Marlin. That could be Finding Nemo 2. I don't care, but they got to do something in that world in my mind. Next, we have Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Arguably the best Harry Potter film. I'm putting it in S tier. I will go right here in S tier right now. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 is just the definition of epic. It ties a bow on this franchise wonderfully, and it's got some of my favorite reveals and moments in the entire franchise. It's a great send-off. It's epic. What more can you ask for? That is how you end a franchise, especially like Harry Potter. Next, we have Avengers Endgame. I love the movie. I do know that over time, people have turned on it. I have never turned on Endgame. It's my second favorite MCU film, and it's an S-tier movie. I'm going to go, it's over Deadpool Wolverine. I'm going to put it over Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows Part 2. I'm going to put it over The Dark Knight. This is a very recent revelation for me. I'm going to put it behind Top Gun Maverick. I've realized over the last few months that Maverick's probably in contention for a top 10 movie for me. It is so damn out of this world. But Endgame is still all-time stuff. It concluded the MCU for many people. I know a lot of people personally who just stopped watching after this, and I can't blame them. It's a perfect conclusion to 11 years of the MCU. Next, we have The Force Awakens, which is a very fun movie, and I watched the hell out of this movie, you know, in 2015, 16, 17. Then we got The Last Jedi, and I kind of stopped watching it as much, but I still have to say, it's a B-tier movie for me. It would have been A if the sequel trilogies didn't taint it a bit, like the follow-ups to this movie, but I'm going to say B-tier, probably behind, actually, like right here feels appropriate. You know, shoot. I'm going to put it over Inside Out 2. It's really so hard to revisit something when you know what follows, and you know what follows is inferior. It hurts. It hurts my soul, but The Force Awakens, that era when I first saw it, unmatched. Next, we have Toy Story 3, which is my second favorite Pixar movie / my favorite Pixar movie. It depends on the day. Ratatouille and this go toe-to-toe all the time, but I've really been steadfast in my belief that Ratatouille is the best. Anyone can cook, baby. Give me Toy Story 3 at damn near pretty high, actually. This is a great film. I'm going to go right here. You know, I don't know where I put this last time, but right now, Toy Story 3... I always say this, it's a movie that reminds me, hey, change is a necessary part of life. It's scary, it's terrifying, but you're gonna be okay. It's a quintessential Pixar flick. Next we have Despicable Me 3, haven't seen, so I'm tossing it in that tier. Then we've got Jurassic World Dominion, which stinks. It's so bad. However, it still has the original characters come back, and we get like a No Way Home type moment, so I'll put it maybe, you know what, no, I'll put it right here. I think I would watch The Last Jedi over it, because at least The Last Jedi is Star Wars. Jurassic World Dominion stunk. It was way over long, and I didn't give a shit about anything that happened. Plus, locusts. This is a dinosaur movie. What are we doing? It's so bad. We have Lord of the Rings Return of the King next, which to me is, again, one of the great films of our time. It has some of the most epic battles I've ever seen put to the big screen. It brings this trilogy to a close wonderfully. It's a Best Picture winner and basically cleaned house at the Oscars, rightfully so. Return of the King is an S-tier movie, and I'm going pretty high with this one, guys. I'm going to go above The Dark Knight with Return of the King. In fact, damn, am I going to do this? I don't know. I'm more of a Fellowship guy nowadays, which surprises some people. If Fellowship was on this list, I might consider going Fellowship at the top of S tier, but Return of the King, comfortably an S tier movie. At that point, if they're in S tier, ranking them, it doesn't matter. They're all S tier movies. Next, we have Transformers Dark of the Moon, which I saw in theaters, and I didn't hate it as much as the other ones. I'll still go D tier with it because it's, you know, the end of the Shia LaBeouf trilogy of these movies. I think this movie goes right here for me. It's way too damn long, but it does have a Linkin Park song. I believe Iridescent is what it's called. And Ken Jeong's in here randomly as a real character, a real hoot and a half. So it's D tier for me. Then we have Avatar. I don't care for it. Visuals aside, the movie doesn't offer much for me. I will still say it's probably more watchable than a good chunk of the movies in D tier, but I would put it probably right there. It's better than Way of Water. We'll talk about that one later. But Avatar, to me, is a D tier movie. It's one that I dread ever having to go back to. I always fall asleep when I try and watch it. And the visual effects, you know, nowadays, they're still great, but they're not as good as they once were. Way of Water's visuals are better, but Avatar's a better story. Next, we have Fate of the Furious, which I don't think is abysmal, but it's a D-tier movie. I'm going to put it, like, right here, probably. It's fine enough, but at a certain point, this franchise just lost me. That was with Fast 9. Thank God I don't have to talk about that in this video. But Fate of the Furious is like the last decent, at best, Fast and Furious movie. It's still just so absurd. Then we have Aquaman, another D-tier movie. There was a point where I was like, this movie's fine, but it's still D-tier. It's just so ugly a lot of the times. Like, some of the visuals hit, a lot of them look real cheap. Also, I'm so done with the DCEU. I really just lost interest and don't think I'm ever going to revisit a DCEU movie. Maybe James Gunn's The Suicide Squad, but other than that, I don't know. Maybe Man of Steel. That's it. But I'm going to say D-tier for Aquaman. It's more watchable than most in this. It's more watchable than that. Probably going right here with Aquaman. It doesn't matter. They're all D-tier movies. Next, we have Captain Marvel, which it's not F-tier, but it's you know, near the back. I'll put it right there. Captain Marvel, its strong suit, Goose the Florkin, and the relationship between Carol and Nick Fury. Everything else, generic MCU, basically one of the most forgettable MCU flicks. Then we have Aladdin, which I haven't seen, so I'll put it in that tier. And Furious 7, which I'll say actually is maybe the best Fast and Furious movie alongside Fast 5. Do I care for this movie that much? No. Do I ever revisit it? No. But it's got a beautiful send-off to Paul Walker, and because of that, it's over Fate of the Furious for me. Right here. Right here feels appropriate. It's better than Fate, but the Fast and Furious franchise for me is like C to D tier at best. Then we have Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. I'm going A tier with this bad boy. Banger of a movie. I watched this all the time growing up, specifically on car rides. I had a portable DVD player. This one was a go-to for me, and it's one of my favorite movie sequels probably out there. It's such a blast. Davy Jones, you beast. I mean, he still looks so good to this day with the CGI, and I quote this movie often. It is a drawing of a key. It's a big part of my childhood, and I am a huge softie for the Pirates trilogy, so yeah, A tier. Next we have Skyfall. I'm also going A tier, right behind that film. Skyfall and Casino Royale really duke it out for my favorite Bond movie, depending on the day, but the opening of Skyfall is badass. Javier Bardem's villain, terrifying, and it is one of the coolest Bond movies. Like the whole third act at the house, so cool. Then we got Avengers, which is another A-tier movie. I would say The Avengers is over Skyfall, but not over Dead Man's Chest for me. That movie is classic MCU. It really doesn't get better than that, and I would argue it's the most rewatchable MCU flick. It is classic, and it's got some of the most iconic moments, quotes, and shots from the MCU. Yeah, it deserves to go in A tier. A for Avengers. Next, we have Avatar: The Way of Water, a movie that I don't care for, but it's not outright F tier, at least for me today. I would still put it in D tier, though not very high. I mean, what would I watch? I don't know. Let me see. I would probably revisit most movies in D tier over The Way of Water because of the exhausting runtime. I'll go right there with Avatar: The Way of Water. It is so dreadfully long to sit through with multiple sequences that are like 10 minutes long of just a character swimming with a whale. The plot is basically a rehash of the first movie with a few things swapped out, and it seems like we're getting that with Avatar: Fire and Ash, which I am just so done with. But anyway, we've got The Dark Knight Rises next. The Dark Knight Rises is an A-tier movie, and I'm going to put it pretty damn high. I'm probably going to have to say The Dark Knight Rises is going to go right here for me. I love this conclusion to the Nolan Batman trilogy, and it's so overhated. I've seen a lot of shade thrown at this movie that is like Nolan's worst movie. I cannot get on board with that take, especially when Following exists. Following is not a bad movie, but it's clearly his weakest in my opinion. Tom Hardy as Bane rules. This movie's filled with epic moments, specifically the pit scene. Rise. Ooh, chills. If you need a motivation boost, watch that scene from Dark Knight Rises. Anything in front of you, you will then proceed to conquer. Next, we got Joker. We're getting a sequel in a few months. Curious to see if that one could join this billion-dollar club. Joker, I'm going to put in B tier right now. It's a movie that's very well made. I rarely want to go revisit it because of how disturbing it can get. Joaquin got his Oscar here, rightfully so. I'm going to say somewhere in the middle of the pack for B tier, probably like right here if I had to be honest. Right there for Joker. It's a very well-made movie, but a damn disturbing one at that. Then we have Alice in Wonderland, haven't seen, and we have Zootopia, haven't seen. I plan to watch Zootopia prior to Zootopia 2. Shout out Ke Huy Quan, he was announced at D23 to be playing a snake in the film. Then we got Avengers Infinity War, which, I mean, come on, this is the best MCU movie to me. It is the top of S tier for me right now. Infinity War is truly special. I don't just throw that around. Like, it is maybe my favorite superhero movie. I've seen it countless times. In that era of my life, I have so much nostalgia for. Seeing this movie in theaters was unreal. I remember people like gasping out loud, and it's so dark for the MCU with Thanos winning. I'm still impressed that this movie works with so many different character groupings. Everyone gets their time to shine. It's got the Battle of Wakanda. Oh my God, it's just so awesome. It is so cool. It is the best MCU movie to me. Love me some Infinity War. Then we got Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. This movie stinks. I'm putting it above the Dominion movie though, but it still stinks. Not much else to say there. Then we got No Way Home. I love this movie. It is the definitive Spider-Man film to me. It gave us all three Spideys swinging live action. Yes, people will argue that's just nostalgia. I will go to war against that take because Peter Parker, played by Andrew and played by Tobey, their two versions, are crucial in bringing Tom Holland's Peter out of hell, essentially. They relate to him, they connect with him, and they bring him up out of the ashes so that he can rise up. And my God, does it work. This movie's awesome. It's S tier. It's right here for me in S tier. Right in front of Deadpool and Wolverine right now, but it's still such an awesome movie, and that is just Spider-Man, ladies and gentlemen. Love it. Next, we got Frozen, which I admire quite a bit. I think Frozen is overhyped. I prefer Tangled, and Frozen is not the best animated movie, best Disney movie, but it's way better than Frozen 2. I'm going to say Frozen is like, honestly, it's arguably a B-tier movie, but I don't know. Frozen, let's see, Chris, where are we putting Frozen? We'll go, shoot. This is a tough call. Because it is a well-made movie, the soundtrack has become classic to me. I listen to that in my car all the time. And the twist, too. The twist with Hans is good stuff. This is a good movie. I'm going to put some respect on its name. It's a B-tier movie. I'm putting Frozen here. In B tier, put some respect on its name. Is it the best Disney movie? No, but I put some respect on it. Next, we got The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey, the first Hobbit film. I'm going to put this one in C tier. I just don't think it has the wow factor Lord of the Rings trilogy, and some of the visuals are a little bit off. The trilogy, Lord of the Rings, all in on practical effects. This trilogy more so leaned into the CGI. Bit off-putting at times, but still, Unexpected Journey, enjoyable. I'm going to go C tier with it, probably right about here. Actually, we'll go right here. Next, we have The Lion King 2019 live action remake. This is an abomination. It is beat for beat the original film, except with hyper-realistic animals, so there's no emotion. The soundtrack was slaughtered when compared to that original film. Just really awful. Like, Be Prepared, the villain song from Scar, really god-awful in this new movie. No charm, no charisma, no heart, no soul. Feels like genuinely disgusting watching it because it's like, oh, they're just doing this to make money and then take our money. They don't care about even telling a story. Hate on No Way Home, hate on Deadpool and Wolverine. Yes, they have tons of cameos. Those movies still have a lot of heart. There's nothing of value in this Lion King remake. It is going right back here. It's one of the most offensive movies I've ever seen, and when I drove home from the movie, I got rear-ended. That is more memorable than the movie. Me getting in a car accident. I was okay. Minimal damage, but someone ran into the back of me on the way home. And that kind of just sums up that movie for me. It's the worst on this list so far. Next, we got The Phantom Menace. I have a big soft spot for this movie. I'm aware of its flaws, but give me some Darth Maul, give me Duel of the Fates, give me pod racing. It's so quotable, it's almost laughable at this point. I quote the out of this movie and I don't even realize it. There's always a bigger fish. Now this is pod racing. I have a big soft spot for this movie and I don't even feel bad. I'm going B tier with it. I'm going to put it pretty high, pretty offensively high for a lot of people, but it's my list, so I don't really care. I'm going to put it like right here. Right here. That feels fine. That's good. Right in the middle of B tier. That's just my heart speaking, and that's who I am. I'm not going to make some objective list because no one wants to watch that crap. This is my opinion. Next, we have Iron Man 3, which is D tier, but it's pretty high in D tier. It's more watchable than... I'm actually going to put it at the top of D tier. It's heavily flawed. I hate some of the decisions they make, but still... It's RDJ as Tony Stark. Next, we have Jurassic Park. Welcome to Jurassic Park. Classic Spielberg. It's not his best movie. I would put Raiders over it. I'd put Jaws over it, but it is undoubtedly iconic. I don't think it goes in S tier for me, but it goes at the top of A tier. Jurassic Park's a banger. I think I might have had it in the S tier last year when I did it. It is a classic movie, but frankly, I don't revisit it as much as the ones in S tier. I gotta do this real quick, I'm sorry. I can't disrespect Dead Man's Chest like that, but Jurassic Park's a banger. Next we have Jurassic World, which I think is actually more watchable than a good chunk of the Jurassic sequels. It's the only one to me that's like decent. Same with Jurassic Park 3. A lot of the other ones are snooze fests or just outright awful. Jurassic World I will put in C tier. I will put it at the back of C tier, but of the Jurassic sequels, I would argue it's the most entertaining. Next we got Rogue One, which is continuing to grow for me because of Andor. And with Andor Season 2 coming out, I really wonder if that could make me appreciate Rogue One even more. I do have a take, though. If you remove the Darth Vader hallway scene, a bunch of people don't have this as their favorite Star Wars movie. A lot of people overrate this movie because of that third act. The rest of the movie is fine, but I never really feel anything for a lot of these characters. And I've said that since the day one when I first saw this movie. I will put Rogue One in C tier. Now, I don't know where I had it last time. I don't care, frankly. But Rogue One, darker Star Wars, but not the most compelling characters. They're adding depth to Andor, which I appreciate. But I'm going to say C tier. I'm probably going to go... It's like I'm spinning the wheel here. Let's just see where it lands. I'll go right here. Why not? That feels fine. They're all, fine movies. Then we have Titanic, Best Picture winner. Classic. I'm putting in B tier, probably right about here. Yeah, I've seen this movie once. I'm very familiar with it. I don't go back to it as much as I wish I did. It's one of the most iconic American movies out there. It's American cinema. Come on. James Cameron, one of his better movies. Next, we have Captain America Civil War. Great film. Great film. It's S tier. And because I have those other MCU movies up there, I got to go S tier with it. I would put Civil War right here. And I've said this a million times, but it truly does handle conflict better than any other MCU movie. I find myself flip-flopping sides constantly with Civil War. It's S tier. It's a banger. And the last one on this list is Rise of Skywalker, which is like almost the worst movie on this list, but then The Lion King exists, so I have to put it there. I hate this movie. Hate this movie. But you know what? It's still Star Wars, which makes it better than some of the other crap on this tier. I'll put it right here right now. But God, this movie stinks. But that is it for my tier list ranking of all $55 billion club movies. Let me know yours in the comments down below. Where's Deadpool and Wolverine land? And again, this is just my opinion, so please let me know your opinion in the comments down below. But hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and if you guys want extra content, you can find that on my Patreon, as well as my YouTube membership page. Check either of those out. Any support goes a very long way. Thank you guys, as always, for watching, and until next time, see you guys later.